Anthony Edwards recently made headlines when he said that back in Jordan's day, he was the only skilled player. These comments from Edwards has sparked so much conversation over the last couple of days from former players, analysts, and fans. Now, everyone is pretty much in agreement that Edwards has no idea what he's talking about, with many people excusing him because, after all, he is only 23 years old. Additionally, Edwards is already on the record saying that he didn't watch players back then. Heck, even growing up, he said the only player he really watched was Kevin Durant. However, I'm going to take a different angle and try to explain to you why Edwards said what he said, and why many people have a warped perception of what skill really means. When Jordan came to the NBA, no one had ever seen a player like that before. The closest thing was probably Dr. J, but Jordan's ball handling, his grace, and his athleticism was even greater. Now, fast forward a couple years when Jordan started developing his mid-range, and then fast forward a couple years after that when he started developing his post-game and his post-fade. Now add that on to his ball handling, grace, and athleticism, and Jordan pretty much created the standard for what a typical superstar wing should look like. Once this standard was set, we started to see the effect it had on the younger generation as the Kobe's, the Vince Carters, and the T-Macs came into the league and ran with it. At this point, skill became more about optics than reality, because as long as your game was nice and your playstyle looked cool enough, you were seen in the upper tier of skilled players. Even if you were only averaging like 17 points per game on sub 40% shooting, you were still going to be looked at as super skilled as long as your playstyle looks the part. If I were to ask who is the most skilled player in the league right now, many people would probably say Kyrie, because his dribbling, finishing, and shooting are all top notch. And I'm not saying Kyrie isn't in that discussion, because he most definitely is, but what about passing, defending, and rebounding? Do those not factor in at all? Well, the answer to that for most people is no, because as I said before, this is mostly an optics thing, and fancy dribbles, cool shooting, and cool finishing looks much cooler than rebounding, defending, and passing, unless you're out here throwing passes like magic on the regular. So when Anthony Edwards says that Michael Jordan was the only skilled player back then, it's because he's going through the 80s and 90s, and he's looking for the Kobe's, the Vince Carters, the T-Macs, and even the Iversons, Kyries, and Kevin Durants, and he can't find them. All the while, skipping over the Magic Johnsons, Larry Bird, Isiah Thomas, Clyde Drexler, Gary Payton, Karl Malone, Hakeem Olajuwon, etc., etc. If we know one thing about life, history often repeats itself. So it's going to be really crazy in 30 years when newer fans and players start saying that no one in this era had any skill. You know what? Never mind. I don't even want to think about that. Like, I'm already getting heated just thinking about it. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time.